Don't forget to like and comment on my video, and let me know how you enjoyed it so I can create even better content for you. All right then, let's get started. Which city are you listening from? Share your thoughts below. You'll regret marrying him. Those 5 words came out of my sister-in-law Natasha's mouth 3 days before my wedding. She stood in the doorway of the bridal suite, arms crossed, her face twisted into something between pity and contempt. I remember the smell of jasmine from my bouquet mixing with her sharp perfume. I remember thinking she was jealous. After all, I was marrying her brother, the man she'd spent years protecting like he was made of glass. I smiled politely. Thanks for the concern, Natasha, but I love him. She laughed. A cold, short bark. Love. Right. Just remember I warned you. I didn't know then that she'd spend the next 2 years trying to prove herself right. That she'd weaponize every argument, every missed dinner, every human mistake I made. That she'd turn my marriage into a courtroom long before we ever stepped into a real one. My husband, Daniel, was a good man, quiet, thoughtful, the kind who brought me tea without asking. But he had one fatal flaw. He couldn't say no to his sister. Natasha had raised him after their parents passed. She was 10 years older, more mother than sibling, and she'd decided, long before I came along, that no woman would ever be good enough. The first year I tried. I swallowed her comments about my cooking, my job, the way I folded Daniel's shirts. I showed up to every family dinner with a smile and a dessert I'd spent hours perfecting. She'd take one bite and say, "Interesting choice." Daniel would squeeze my hand under the table. "She'll come around," he'd whisper. But she didn't. By year 2, Natasha had escalated. She had a key to our apartment, Daniel's idea, for emergencies, and she used it. I'd come home to find her rearranging our kitchen, sitting on our couch, once even in our bedroom, looking for Daniel's old tax papers. "You really should dust under the bed," she'd said, not looking up. I asked Daniel to take the key back. He hesitated. "She's family. She doesn't mean anything by it. She's crossing lines. She's just protective. Give her time." Time. As if time would soften someone who saw me as the enemy. The breaking point came on a Tuesday evening. I arrived home early and heard voices. Natasha and Daniel in the living room. I stopped in the hallway. "She's changing you," Natasha said, her voice low and urgent. "You used to call me every day. Now it's twice a week. She's isolating you." "That's not... I've seen it before. She's manipulative, Daniel. You just can't see it because you're too close." I felt my hands go cold. She wasn't just undermining me anymore. She was rewriting reality. I walked in. "I'm standing right here." Natasha didn't flinch. "Good. Maybe you'll finally hear the truth. My brother deserves better." Daniel stood frozen between us, and he said nothing. That silence cost him more than he knew. That night, I made a decision. I started documenting everything. Timestamps of her uninvited visits, screenshots of her messages to Daniel, the ones where she called me that woman, and suggested he reconsider his options. I recorded a voicemail where she told him I was probably cheating because I worked late on Thursdays. I wasn't gathering evidence for fun. I was protecting myself because I'd started to see the pattern. Natasha wasn't going to stop. And if this marriage fell apart, I needed proof that I wasn't the villain she'd painted. 3 months later, Daniel came home with paperwork. Divorce papers. "She's right," he said, quietly, not meeting my eyes. "Maybe we rushed into this. Maybe you and I... Maybe we're not compatible." I felt the floor tilt. Did Natasha tell you to do this? She just wants what's best for me. And you think I don't? He didn't answer. He left the papers on the table and walked out. I sat there for an hour, staring at his signature already on the line. Then I called a lawyer. Her name was Monica. She was in her 50s, sharp-eyed, with a reputation for dismantling manipulative family cases. I showed her everything: the messages, the recordings, the timestamps. I told her about the isolation tactics, the gaslighting, the invasion of privacy. This isn't just a divorce, Monica said. This is interference, possibly alienation of affection, depending on the state. And if she used that key without permission, we're talking trespassing. I don't want revenge, I said carefully. I want the truth on record. Monica smiled. Good, because the truth is the sharpest tool we have. We filed a countersuit. Not just divorce proceedings, a separate civil claim against Natasha for intentional interference with marital relations. It was rare, but documented, and Monica was confident. She'll crack, Monica said. Bullies always do when someone finally stands up. The court date arrived on a gray morning in November. I wore a navy suit, hair pulled back, no jewelry except my wedding band. Natasha arrived in black, her lawyer beside her, her face set in that same contemptuous mask. Daniel sat in the back. He looked smaller somehow. The proceedings were clinical at first. My lawyer presented the timeline: 2 years of harassment, documented boundary violations, recorded statements. Natasha's lawyer argued it was sibling concern, that she had every right to voice opinions. Then Monica played the voicemail. Natasha's voice filled the courtroom, venomous and certain. She's poison, Daniel. Get rid of her before she ruins you completely. I'll help you find someone better, someone who actually deserves our family. I watched Natasha's face. For the first time, something cracked. That was taken out of context, she said, her voice rising. Then provide the context, Monica replied evenly. She couldn't. The judge, a silver-haired woman with tired eyes, leaned forward. Ms. Natasha, did you enter the couple's home without explicit permission on the dates listed? I had a key. That is not what I asked. Natasha's lawyer whispered something. She ignored him. I was protecting my brother. From his wife? From a mistake. The judge's expression didn't change, but her tone did. That was not your decision to make. What happened next, I didn't expect. Natasha started crying. Not delicate tears, full, gasping sobs. I only wanted what was best for him, she choked out. I raised him. I sacrificed everything. And she just... The judge let her finish. Then, calmly, your sacrifices do not grant you ownership of another adult's life. The court finds clear evidence of intentional interference. Judgment for the plaintiff. Natasha crumpled into her lawyer's shoulder, still sobbing. I felt no triumph, just exhaustion and relief. Outside the courthouse, Daniel waited by the steps. He said, I'm sorry, I should have seen it sooner. I agreed. But you chose her over me. That's not something a judgment can fix. We finalized the divorce 2 months later. Amicable, quiet. He moved across the state. I heard through mutual friends that he and Natasha barely speak now. The truth has a way of reshaping every relationship it touches. Natasha said I'd regret marrying him. In the end, she was the one crying in court. Not because I wanted her pain, but because the truth finally outweighed her narrative. Which city are you listening from? Drop it in the comments. Names and details have been altered for privacy. This story is for entertainment and awareness purposes.